Well, hey, good morning. Welcome back to Mission. My name is John, if I haven't met you yet, and I'm so glad that everyone is here, even those that are wearing Packers jerseys sitting in the front row. I'm not going to name any names. Really glad that everyone is here. If I haven't met you, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to shake your hand. I'd love to welcome you to what I would say is probably the friendliest bunch of people you're ever going to meet. And so we're thrilled that you guys are here. To all of you guys watching online, which is mainly my mom, hey mom, to those of you listening to our podcast, to all of us in here, welcome to week 1 of Made for More. Here's the thing, I ask it, I do. I actually think you ask it. I would argue that all of us ask it. Perhaps you ask it most when you're stuck in traffic on 290. Maybe you ask it most when you're freezing, waiting for your train to head down to work into the city. Maybe that's when you ask it most. I ask it actually a lot when I'm trying to get the kids down at night, and it's nearly an impossible feat. Can I get a witness for some of us on that? I ask it at times, and I think you ask it. Maybe all of us, we ask it at times when we're laying there in bed at night and we can't quite fall asleep. We ask it. I really think that all of us ask this singular question, and here it is. Here it is, the singular question we're going to look at. Is there more to life than this? Is there more? You ask it. I ask it. We all ask it. Is there more to life than this? And here's the thing. We ask this question in different seasons of our life for different reasons. We do, right? But what I want to talk about for the next little bit are some of the primary reasons perhaps this room or those of you watching online are asking it. 2 primary reasons why you might be asking this question. Is there more to life than this? And the first is because you are on the brink of spiritually giving up. You're on the brink of spiritually giving up, or for others, you're on the brink of spiritually stalling out. And so here's what I want you to know. If you are on the brink of spiritually giving up, or if you're on the brink of spiritually stalling out, I want you to know one thing. I want to be crystal clear on this. We are here to help. We're here to help. For those of you on the brink of spiritually giving up, what I mean by that is you have been carrying with you unanswered questions about the foundations of faith, and you just aren't sure if you can carry those questions with you any longer. For some of you, this is your first time to Mission or first time to church, and you came in here not empty-handed. And no one saw the backpack on your back. It was actually loaded with bricks, and those bricks represent unanswered questions about foundational faith questions. And you would say, John, yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. It's heavy. And for others, this isn't your first Sunday. Actually, you've been coming for months, maybe even years, and the reality is same for you. You have all of these questions with you that you carry around, these questions that continue to go unanswered. And they are questions about the foundation of faith. And you'd say, John, that is what it feels like. It is this heaviness that you are carrying around. And some of you would say, you know what, I'm just not sure I can continue carrying these unanswered questions with me. Now, for me, I remember the first hockey game I ever went to. It was to watch our beloved Chicago Blackhawks. Do we have any Blackhawks fans in the house today? I thought we might have a few. And I don't know, do any of you guys remember your first Blackhawks game? Some of you guys, you were there. And so most of you know I grew up playing football and baseball. I did not grow up playing hockey. And so it was my first hockey game that I ever attended there at the United Center. And I actually knew nothing about the game of hockey. I knew 2 things. I knew that you were supposed to put the puck in the net and you're supposed to get in as many fights as possible. All right, those are the 2 things that I knew about hockey. And so I went to the United Center, and it was amazing. It was. I mean, the energy, the passion, the mullets, it was awesome, right? It was great. And I was there at the United Center, and what began to unfold were all these, like, really, to me, kind of weird, awkward things. I first noticed that, like, every 30 seconds or so, the team would leave. They'd leave the ice, they'd jump over the boards, and another team would skate out there. I'm like, that's different. I'm not sure why they're doing that. I noticed that there were 2 halftimes, which in football there was 1. I'm like, this isn't fair. I wish I would have had 2 halftimes, right? They had 2 halftimes. That was weird to me. I noticed all the different penalties. They had different kinds of names. One of the names really caught my attention. It was icing, but not the edible kind. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so I walked into the United Center with all of these questions, and here's the interesting thing. I left with even more questions. And when I look back on that experience, right now, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't just stop and turn around and ask my friends these questions, but I didn't. I just kind of went along with it. It was fun. It was energetic. It was passionate, right? So I didn't ask any of my questions. Instead, I just Chelsea daggered it with the rest of United Center, and I left there with all of my questions still unanswered. And I'm just wondering, does that sound familiar to any of you? You come in here week in and week out, or perhaps this is your first Sunday ever, and it's exciting. I mean, there's passion and energy in this house. There is. You feel welcome, and you should, because you are. But week in and week out, some of you continue to leave with those kind of foundational faith questions still unanswered. And because of that, you're on the brink of spiritually giving up. And I just want to tell you, if that's you, we're here to help. We're here to help you this new year in some new ways. And for others, maybe that's not you. You'd say, John, no, that's not really why I'm asking this question. Is there more to life than this? You used to ask that question. You don't ask it for that reason anymore, but you're asking it because you're on the brink of spiritually stalling out. That's why you're asking that question. If you were honest today, you'd say, John, yeah, I may not say it in that phrase, and I certainly don't say it out loud. But yeah, John, I've actually been asking that same question. If you were brutally honest, you would agree, and you say, John, yeah, it's true. When it comes to spiritual momentum in my life, that is a thing of the past. John, you would actually admit, you'd say, yeah, there is still a gap, perhaps a tremendous gap, between what you believe about the gospel, right, and how you are experiencing the gospel 7 days a week. Yeah, you believe it, but are you experiencing it? And so you're on the brink of spiritually stalling out. Some of you, right, you would even say, you know what, John, my faith has become solely practical. Passion has left the building. You're on the brink of spiritually stalling out. And if that's you, I want to make one thing really clear as we begin 2017. We're here to help. We're here to help. We're here to help you this new year in some brand new ways. That said, when it comes to your spiritual growth, I got to be clear on something. We got to all be on the same page with something. And to explain this, I want to ask you, can anyone yell out the name of this really large furniture store in Schaumburg that is Swedish owned? Anyone know the name of this furniture? IKEA. Right, IKEA. How many of you love IKEA? Just wondering. Okay, a number of you guys do, and I thought you would. I'm actually not a fan. I'm not a fan of IKEA, and I just felt like I needed to get it off my chest. And to explain why I'm not a fan, I actually found this picture that really explains why I'm not a fan, and it's this, right? If you'd let them, they would actually start selling this, right? We're going to sell free snowman, but some assembly required. This is why I'm not a fan, because this word some has been totally undersold. You want to know what IKEA is? It's just a box full of parts. That's what it is. Right? Oh my goodness. All right, so I need to get this off my chest, but I keep going. This is the irony of it. I actually keep going. And so do you, because it's a great price, right? The cinnamon rolls, pretty amazing, not to mention the meatballs. And so I go and I spend most of my time lost there, right? Whoever designed that, it's the same guy who designed this high school, I think, right? The heck? And then I spend at least 20 minutes looking for the miniature pencils. And it's a terrible series. But I do. I like you. I get the box of random parts, and I load them up, and this is what happens. This is how it happens at the Peacock home. We get home, and this some assembly required begins, and I'm done with the desk or chair, and that's usually when Kelly walks in, and she sees, laying on the ground next to this desk or chair, she sees a lot of extra parts. You too, right. And then, in the sweetest way, she says, honey, why are there all those extra parts? And that's when I usually get very defensive. Babe, this is what they do. They give you this armrest for, it's like a spleen, right? You don't need it. You don't need it, right? They just give it to you, right? I get super defensive. And then I get mad. And I'm like, how is this company so successful? Why don't they they're the experts. Why don't they build it and then put it in my minivan? Why don't they do this for me, right? Why don't they do this for me? And so, as we begin this year, I need to be as clear as I possibly can, right? When it comes to those of you on the brink of spiritually giving up, or on the brink of spiritually stalling out, we're here to help, but we're not here to do the work for you. We're not. It's not that we don't want to. Actually, I do want to. But it's just that spiritual growth doesn't happen that way. Being transformed by God, you can't outsource it. You can't have other people do the work. And so perhaps or potentially someone has never told you this, so I'll be the first. When it comes to this year being different, growing spiritually, advancing, finding and following Christ like never before in your life, you just need to know that there is some training required. Actually, I want us to say that phrase on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Some. Yeah, in fact, if you really want to have a dynamic relationship with God, and that word relationship sounds really strange to a number of you, but if you really want to grow spiritually, if you want to have some of these questions, these foundational questions answered, if you want to no longer stall out, if you no longer want to be where you were last year, there is some, in fact, I would argue lots of training required. And here's the thing. You don't have to do the work if you don't want to. I actually can't make you do it. I mean, I've thought about, is there any way to, incentivize? No, I can't make you do it. But here's the thing. You've been asking, haven't you? Is there more to life than this? And so if you're following along in the notes section of the app, you'll see this statement. More than giving you an answer for your question, I want to offer you a strategy for your quest. That's what this is all about. More than giving you an answer for your question, I want to offer you a strategy for your quest. It was about the year of 2000. My mom came home and she said, I was still living at home. She said, guys, I signed us up, the whole family, at Lifetime Fitness. And this was an exciting day, and here's why. We had been on my dad's case, and I actually asked my dad permission to tell this story. We've been on my dad's case for months, years. And it kind of went something like this. Dad, come on. You got to get in shape. Dad, come on. You can't live only on ice cream and vanilla wafers. Dad, come on. If you start exercising, you'll have more energy. Your blood pressure will go down. You'll feel better about yourself. Dad, come on. You gotta work out. Besides, Mom just got us this family membership to Lifetime Fitness. And that was not long after it opened. It was this amazing place, right? And then the day happened. I'll never forget it. My dad said, all right, listen up. Got an announcement to make. Brother Walt is going to start working out. We were like, what? I mean, we were high-fiving. He was putting a man on the moon, all right? This was an amazing accomplishment. He's like, I'm going to start working out. And he did. He started going to Lifetime Fitness. And it was probably about the 6-month mark where we began to get a little confused. Because he'd been going all the time, yet we had seen pretty much no evidence of him going to Lifetime Fitness. And so like any concerned family, we had to investigate what was going on. We did a little recon work. And here's what we found out. It was actually pretty shocking. My dad, there's 2 floors of Lifetime Fitness if you've been there. My dad, he never left the first floor. Why? Well, if you asked him, he said, I'm doing circuit training. You start in the hot tub, you move to the steam room, then you go to the sauna, repeat. Circuit training. And it was, as I thought, I've laughed till I've cried. I've been so excited to tell you this story. It's just so fun. And we were just like, Dad. All right, this is good. You started somewhere, but at some point, if you really want to grow physically, you have to go to the second floor. On the second floor, there's these heavy things they're called weights. You got to lift them. And on the second floor, there's these people that know what they're doing. They're called trainers. And if you go to the second floor, they can really help you. Dad, if you're really serious about progressing, if you're really serious about physical growth, at some point, Dad, you got to leave the first floor and you got to go to the second floor. And he said this, but Dad, you can come back down and do your circuit training on the first floor, but you have to spend some time on the second floor. And here's what we all know to be true. For all the great endeavors of life, training is required. You know that's true. Think about it. For all the great endeavors of life, training is required. If you want to finish an Ironman, you know what you do? You train. If you want to dance at Juilliard one day in New York City, you know what you do? You train. If you want to summit Mount Everest, what do? Tell me. On the count of three, you train. Right? You train. If you're in junior high, you're like, forget dancing, forget summiting Everest. You want to drive, right? So let me just break some news to you. Those of you that are in junior high or maybe a freshman in high school, here's some news to you. Before you will ever drive and have your license, two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to scare your parents to death. Because secondly, you enter into a very specific season of training. It's called your driver's permit, right? We know this to be true. For any of these great endeavors of life to take place, we know that training is required, yet here's the irony. This just blows me away. Here's the irony. When it comes to the greatest endeavor of all time, that is the endeavor of you growing spiritually. When it comes to the greatest endeavor, I would argue, ever, that is the endeavor of you being transformed from the inside out. The endeavor of your life looking more and more like Jesus' life in 2017 than it did in 2016. When it comes to the greatest endeavor of all time, that is you living and loving like Jesus himself. The irony is this, our response, training? Nah. Training? Spiritual training? What do I need that for? Isn't this ironic? When it comes to the greatest endeavor that we could ever embark on, we actually believe that spiritual training is for extra credit points. We actually think it's optional. We believe it's optional. Check this out from Dallas Willard. He said this, and there in the notes part of the app, you can just read this quote, and there's a link to Amazon. You can buy this book, and let me just warn you, it'll take you the next decade to read this book, but this is a really good quote from The Divine Conspiracy. This is what Dallas Willard said. For you can be sure that if you do not act in an advised fashion, consistently and resolutely, he's speaking of spiritual training, you will not grow spiritually. It is crucial to realize that grace is not opposed to effort, but to earning. This is one of the most foundational and formative quotes I've ever come across when it comes to me being a grower. Check it out. He says this, it is crucial to realize that grace is not opposed to effort, but to earning. Pastor John Ortberg said this in his book, The Life You've Always Wanted, one of my favorites. There's an immense difference between training to do something and trying to do something. Many of you would say, you actually tried. You actually tried in 2016. My question is, did you train? He said there's a big difference between the two. Trying hard can only accomplish so much. If you are serious, you'll have to enter into a life of training. For all the great endeavors of life, training is required. And friends, this absolutely includes the endeavor of spiritual growth. 1 Timothy 4, you will read the Pauline writings over and over. You'll see that one of the themes that Paul liked was around this concept that's really important to our life of spiritual training. He said this in 1 Timothy 4. Physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better. Meaning, yeah, spend some time at the gym. But even more important than that, actually much more important than that, is are you spiritually training? Why is it more important? Training for godliness. Here it is, because these promising benefits, that they will benefit you in this life and in the life to come. 1 Corinthians 9, this is from the Voice translation. Athletes in training are very strict with themselves. Right? And here's what you know. If you know any athlete that's actually a real athlete, like that's in the game, you will find that they do not exercise, they train. There's a big difference. Athletes in training are very strict with themselves, exercising self-control over desires. And for what? For a wreath that soon withers or is crushed or simply forgotten. Last week I was looking for the remote control. You guys know how you misplace that as well all the time? And I was just digging through like things that I never dig into. And in the very back of this drawer that I pulled out were my 3 finishing medals of the Chicago Marathon. And that's and all the training that I went into to finish those. That's what he's saying, right? For a wreath that soon withers, or this amazing finisher, 2000 and whatever, Chicago Marathon, where it's crushed or it's simply forgotten. And he says, this is not our race. We run for the crown that we will wear for eternity. So how much more ought we to train ourselves? How much more ought you to train yourself for godliness? How much more ought we enter into a season of spiritual training. For all the great endeavors of life, training is required. And if you're ready and willing to enter into a focused season of spiritual training, I want you to know one thing. We're here to help. We're here to help. We're here to help you this year in some new ways. Next week is week 2 of this series. Come back. I'm going to talk about how we're going to help. I'm going to talk about something that we've been working on for months called our growth track. That's next week. Make sure that you're back for that. As for this week, the singular next step is the same next step all of us need to take this week, and that is by taking our growth assessment. And so it's on the app. That's how we recommend for you to take it. You're going to take it here in just a couple minutes. It only takes you about a minute to take it. All right, and so I want to talk about this growth assessment. We've been working on it for probably 3 to 4 months, getting it ready for today. And before you take it, let me just explain why I think you should take it. There was a couple days ago, it was on Friday, in fact, I was on my way to an appointment, and I had to go to the bathroom, incredibly bad. And thank you, Hannah, for laughing. And I was passing Woodfield Mall. I'm like, that's my only option. I pull into Woodfield Mall, I run in there, and I'm like about to pee in my pants. And so when you don't know where to go in a big mall, the most important thing you should do, the most strategic thing you should do, is you go to the mall directory, right? You guys know this, right? If you're trying to get there, you got to first understand this little statement that's on every single mall directory. It says, you are. So when it comes to your spiritual growth, do you know where you're at? Most likely the answer is no. Well, that's why we created this growth assessment. We want you to know where you're currently at so that we can help you as we begin this new year for you to take some new steps to experience some new growth for the glory of God. And I promise you, for the good and the enjoyment and the beauty and the fulfillment and the meaning that God wants to do in your life. And so we're going to provide a couple minutes right now for you to take this growth assessment. It's going to let you know, if you take it through the app, what your kind of main thing is. And here's what's going to happen in 2 days to 3 days. Dan Ruda and our team, we will get back to you and talk to you about what group you need to be in as you begin this new year. Okay, this is really important. We will get back to you. So take it from the app. If you don't have a phone, or you left it in the car, or your New Year's resolution was to, I don't know, like never be with your phone, we have you covered. We have 2 tables right back here. Pastor Mark is standing by one right there, and Dan Ruda is walking to another. We have hard copy forms of the growth assessment. And so you can approach those tables. There's pens there. It'll take you about a minute to do. All right, and then you'll turn those into those guys, and we will get back to you that way. So right now, our one step is the same step. It is to take your growth assessment.